Dear viewer, today I'll be attempting to make 3 different whoopie pies: s'mores, pumpkin, and bourbon caramel. But to make it easier for myself, I'll be using the same filling. Before making the whoopie pies, we're going to make our own graham crackers, marshmallow fluff, which is the filling, and to top it off, some bourbon caramel sauce. So let's get started. For the graham crackers, mix the butter, brown sugar, salt, cinnamon, and honey. Slowly fold in the flour and wheat flour. Use your hands if you need to, since it can get crumbly. Then evenly roll it out between parchment paper. I'm going to be cutting it into simple rectangle shapes, and it doesn't have to be perfect since we're going to crumble most of it anyway. Freeze for 30 minutes to harden, and we'll bake for about 8 to 10 minutes in a 350 preheated oven. I really liked how these came out. For the remainder, you can even put it in your ice cream or use it in pie crust. For the marshmallow fluff, add water, honey, and sugar in a saucepan. Stir gently and cook over medium-high heat. At 220 to 225 degrees, add cream of tartar to the egg whites in a bowl and mix on high speed until frothy. Make sure that you keep an eye on the syrup, so when it reaches 240, take it off the heat and gradually add it to the egg white mixture. Then continue to mix until it's fluffy. This could take about 5 minutes. Then add vanilla and beat until combined for another 1 to 2 minutes. Do not over-mix. This is very important. The end result should be thick and fluffy. Make sure to keep it in the fridge since it can lose its shape, and you'll see later on how liquidy it can become if not chilled. Now for the bourbon caramel sauce, combine water and sugar in a saucepan. Let it simmer on medium-high heat until it reaches 230. Remove it from the heat and add in the cream and the butter, then add in the vanilla, bourbon, and salt. And if you watch carefully, I forgot to add in the cream and butter right away, so I had to heat it back up. The first whoopie pie we're going to make is the s'mores. So let's preheat the oven to 375 degrees. In a bowl, combine graham cracker crumbs, flour, baking soda, and baking powder. In a separate bowl, combine the vanilla extract, baking soda, vinegar, and set that aside. Now we're going to beat the butter and brown sugar for 2 minutes. And add the egg and beat for another minute. Gradually mix in the dry ingredients and the wet. Scoop about a tablespoon onto a baking sheet and bake for about 8 to 10 minutes. Now for the bourbon caramel, we're going to preheat the oven to 350. Sift in flour, salt, baking soda, and cocoa powder. Beat the butter for about 1 minute in another bowl and gradually add the sugar. Then add the egg and vanilla. Then we'll divide the wet and dry ingredients and mix until combined. time I had a whoopie pie was in Philly at the Reading Terminal Market. And I have to admit, I prefer this one over Manhattan's Chelsea Market. It's filled with so many different eateries, a variety of local shops, and I always look forward to getting whoopie pies at a bakery called Flying Monkeys. If you're ever in the area, I highly recommend them. And we'll bake these for about 8 to 10 minutes. For the pumpkin whoopie pie, I steamed a kabocha. It's a type of Japanese squash. It's sweet, hearty, and has a nice, warm, vibrant color. But feel free to use a can of pumpkin puree. No judgment. And we'll combine flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves. In another bowl, mix the brown sugar and oil. Then we'll mix in the egg. Then add the vanilla and pumpkin. Fold in the dry ingredients and scoop a tablespoon onto a baking sheet and bake for 8 to 10 minutes. Now the fun part of it all is dressing them up. I melted some chocolate to go with a s'mores whoopie pie, dolloped some on top of the marshmallow fluff, and completed the sandwich with another shell. You can eat it right away or chill them in the fridge so that it'll be less messy. Since I left my marshmallow fluff out too long in a warm room, it became fussy and resulted in a liquidy goop. But everything's okay, just put it back in the fridge until it's cold and whip it back up to life. Overall, I really liked how the s'mores turned out, and I'll definitely be making these again in the future. The caramel bourbon was a bit dense, but I loved the caramel sauce. It'll go perfect in a latte. The pumpkin was also good, but I feel like the spices were a bit overpowering, so the next time I do make this, I'll just add only a dash of cinnamon. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.